Sure. Here's part 1 expanded into approximately 2,000 words, written in a natural, human storytelling style without any headings. The sun bore down like a punishment from the sky. It was one of those southern afternoons that felt like time had slowed to a crawl, everything weighed down by the heat and the humidity. The pavement shimmered like it was melting, and the air was thick enough to chew. Cars sped by on the rural highway, their drivers hiding behind tinted glass, cold air blasting, music thumping, eager to get to their destinations and out of the sun. But one car wasn't moving anymore. It was a gleaming white Bentley, brand new, sitting awkwardly on the shoulder of the road with its hazard lights blinking like a silent cry for help. The rear tire had blown out, flattening into the pavement as though it had simply given up on life. Steam hissed quietly from under the hood, even though the engine had long been shut off. It looked out of place, like a swan dropped into a muddy ditch. And standing beside it, phone in hand, lips pursed in frustration, was Emily Whitmore. At 22, Emily had every material thing a person could want. She was the daughter of Charles Whitmore, the hotel magnate who owned more luxury real estate across the East Coast than most people could even pronounce. Emily was the it girl of the Southern social elite, wealthy, photogenic, and engaged to Gregory West, the heir to a Texas oil fortune. To the world, she had it all. But today, stranded on a highway far from the polished floors of country clubs and the glint of champagne glasses, Emily didn't feel rich. She felt stuck, irritated, and a little scared. The GPS had told her this route would be faster. What it didn't say was that this stretch of highway had no signal, no shops nearby, and definitely no Uber. Her phone, usually a portal to the world, was now just a useless slab of metal and glass in her hand. She opened the trunk, stared blankly at the tools inside, a spare tire, a jack, something long and heavy she couldn't name, and then quickly shut it again. Changing a tire was not in her wheelhouse. She sighed and leaned against the car, cursing softly under her breath. Her perfectly manicured nails tapped impatiently against the car door. This was supposed to be a quick drive, a little escape from the suffocating preparations for her engagement party. The last thing she expected was to be standing on the side of a road in designer sandals with sweat trickling down her spine. That's when she saw him. At first, he was just a speck walking in the distance, a blur against the golden horizon. He carried something in one hand, a gas can, maybe, and a rolled-up bag slung across his shoulder. As he came closer, the details sharpened: dark skin glowing under the sun, a tall frame, probably just under 6 feet, wearing a faded blue t-shirt and jeans torn at the knees. His sneakers looked like they'd been through a war. And yet he walked like he wasn't in any hurry, like the sun had no power over him. Emily's hand gripped her phone tighter as he approached, her instinct somewhere between caution and curiosity. Then he stopped a few feet away, squinted at her with an easy smile, and asked, "You need some help, ma'am?" His voice was calm, warm, the kind that could settle dust just by being heard. Emily didn't answer immediately. She studied his face, young, maybe 18 or 19, eyes sharp with intelligence. There was something about the way he stood, not proud, but not small either. Grounded, solid. Yeah, she finally said, brushing hair out of her eyes. "I have a flat. I don't know how to fix it." He looked over her shoulder at the Bentley and gave a little whistle. "Nice car. Shame about the tire. Tell me about it. You got a spare in the trunk? All right then." He set down the gas can and unzipped the tool bag. "I'll get you back on the road. Won't take long." Emily watched as he worked. He wasn't in a rush, but every movement had purpose. He wiped his hands before touching anything, used the jack with practiced ease, and lifted the car like it was second nature. The tire came off clean. The spare went on smoothly. All the while, he hummed quietly to himself, something bluesy and old, like it came from a world that predated her own. You do this a lot? She asked, shading her eyes. Yeah, he said without looking up. Work part-time at my uncle's garage down the road. Fix tires, engines, anything with wheels. Pays the bills. And how old are you? 18, he said, wiping sweat from his brow. Graduated last year. Taking a break before college. Emily tilted her head. You going to college? Got into Morehouse, he said with a proud grin. Deferred for a year. Needed to help my mom. She's been sick. Something inside Emily shifted. She wasn't used to people being this open, this real. She leaned against the car again, watching him tighten the last lug nut. All done, he said, standing and brushing off his hands. You're good to go. She reached into her purse and pulled out her wallet, sleek, crocodile leather, packed with bills and credit cards. How much do I owe you? He looked at the wallet, then at her. His smile faded, not in anger, but in something like quiet dignity. I didn't do it for money. No, nope, he said. My mama always said, help people when you can. Good things'll find their way back. I figured today was your turn. Emily felt something catch in her throat. No one ever turned down money. Not in her world. People were always looking for angles, opportunities, favors. But this boy, this stranger, had helped her and expected nothing in return. At least let me buy you lunch, she offered, her voice softer now. He hesitated. You don't have to. I know. I want to. He looked at her, really looked, into her eyes, not past them. Then he nodded. All right then. They walked across the road to a dusty little diner with chipped paint and a flickering neon sign. Inside, the air was cool, and the smell of fried food clung to every corner. They sat in a booth by the window. The waitress, a bored-looking woman with too much eyeliner, gave them both a side eye before handing them menus. They both ordered burgers, sweet tea, fries. Simple food, but it tasted better than any five-star dish Emily had ever had. Maybe it was the hunger. Maybe it was the company. I'm Elijah, by the way, he said between bites. Emily. Figured, he grinned. You look like someone important. She rolled her eyes. I hate that. Everyone always thinks they know me because of my last name. Well, Elijah said, wiping his mouth, I don't care about your last name. I just care about how you treat people. So far, you're doing all right. She laughed. You're not like anyone I know. That a good thing. The best. They talked for an hour. 2. About books, music, dreams. Elijah quoted poetry, lines from Langston Hughes that made her chest ache, verses from Maya Angelou that made her blink fast to hide the sting in her eyes. He told her about his mother, how she used to read to him by candlelight when the power got cut off. About growing up in a neighborhood that most people only saw in crime shows, and how he still believed in good people, in miracles. Emily told him about her life too, the pressure of appearances, the fake smiles, the loneliness that wealth never cured. And about Gregory, the fiancé she didn't choose, a walking business merger disguised as a man. Do you love him? Elijah asked. No, she said, honestly. But he's expected. Elijah nodded slowly. Maybe you need to stop living for what's expected. When it was time to go, she drove him to the corner of a neighborhood that looked like it hadn't seen a renovation since the 70s. Rusted fences, broken porches, cracked sidewalks. But Elijah didn't seem ashamed. He stood tall as he opened the door. Thanks for the food, he said. Thanks for the tire. They didn't say goodbye, just smiled at each other, and then he walked away, shoulders relaxed, hands in his pockets, disappearing into the street like a character in a dream she wasn't ready to wake up from. As she sat in her car watching him vanish, Emily didn't fully understand what had just happened. But she knew one thing: something about her life had shifted. Something important. Something real. She didn't know yet that this was the beginning of a story people would one day whisper about. A story that crossed lines of color, class, and consequence. All because a young man with rough hands and a kind heart stopped to fix a flat tire. Here is part 2 of the story, expanded into approximately 2,000 human-written words, continuing naturally from part 1, with emotional depth and immersive storytelling. The weeks that followed blurred into one another, but Emily remembered every message, every call, every moment they shared in secret. After that first meeting, something inside her shifted, like a door had opened to a room she never knew she had. It wasn't just that Elijah had helped her. It wasn't that he was kind, or strong, or smart. It was that he saw her, really saw her, not as a hotel heiress or society girl, but as a woman, a person who wanted to breathe outside the glass walls built around her life. She messaged him 3 days after they met, just a simple, "Hey, thanks again" smiley face, and waited far too long staring at her screen for a reply. When it came, it was short, but warm. "No problem. Hope that spare's still holding up." From there, the conversation grew. Slowly. Carefully. At first, just a few texts here and there. But soon they were talking every day. Then came the calls, quiet ones at night, whispered from behind closed doors. Elijah's voice was a balm, something real, a kind of music her life had never had before. He made her laugh. He made her think. One Saturday afternoon, Emily drove herself out of the city again, this time with purpose. No flat tire, no excuses. She just wanted to see him. She found him behind his uncle's garage, shirt smeared with grease, a wrench in his hand, music playing softly from an old speaker. His expression lit up when he saw her. "You sure know how to make an entrance," he grinned, wiping his hands on a rag. "I was in the neighborhood," she lied. "You were 30 miles from your neighborhood," he shot back. She laughed, and he laughed too. That day, they walked around the neighborhood, and Elijah showed her the old playground he used to go to, the barber shop that gave free cuts to kids before school started, the mural painted on a crumbling wall that his cousin had worked on in memory of a boy who didn't make it past 16. "People only see the cracks," Elijah said, looking up at it. "They don't see the stories hiding in them." "I see them," she said softly. They started meeting more often, quiet corners of the city, places no one would recognize her. Sometimes they sat in bookstores for hours, talking about poetry and life. Sometimes they bought dollar ice cream cones and walked by the river, talking about everything and nothing. Emily felt alive around him in a way she never had before. Not caged, not expected, not measured, just Emily. For Elijah, it was surreal. A girl like her, from another planet practically, had walked into his life and stayed. She didn't flinch when they passed boarded-up homes or when someone yelled from across the street. She listened to him, really listened, and challenged him, too. She told him to publish his poetry, to apply for grants, to dream bigger than he'd ever dared. And he saw her for who she was. Not the filtered image, not the polished mask. But the girl who had grown up in golden cages, afraid to open the door. They were falling. Both of them. But they were also hiding. Emily told no one. Not her parents, not her friends, not even her assistant. And Elijah didn't tell his uncle either, knowing what kind of trouble people could stir over something like this. Because they were from two different worlds. One of marble floors and private jets. The other of cracked pavement and borrowed time. Still, they met. Still, they hoped. Until the day Gregory saw them. It happened on a dusky Wednesday evening. Emily and Elijah were sitting on a park bench just past the bridge where the city's lights began to fade into trees and crickets took over the air. She was leaning on his shoulder, eyes half closed, feeling the safety in his presence. His fingers were tracing words into her palm, as if writing poems only she could read. That's when the black Escalade pulled up. At first, it was just another car. Then the window rolled down. And there he was, Gregory West. His jaw dropped first. Then his face hardened. His eyes darted from Elijah's arm to Emily's relaxed posture, then back to Elijah's dark skin and grease-stained shirt. What the hell is this? Gregory's voice cut through the silence like a blade. Emily sat up, startled. Elijah straightened too, calm but alert. Greg, you've got to be kidding me. He got out of the car, slammed the door. Are you seriously slumming it now? Is this your way of rebelling? Bringing some street mechanic into your bed like some charity project? Don't talk to her like that, Elijah said, voice steady. Gregory turned to him, rage bubbling. You better watch yourself, kid. You don't know who I am. I know exactly who you are. But I don't care. Emily stepped between them. Stop it. Both of you. But the damage was done. Gregory was already dialing someone on his phone, walking away, talking too fast. Emily turned to Elijah, panic rising. He's going to tell my father. I figured, Elijah said, calm but distant. And that night, the storm broke. Charles Whitmore didn't just call her into his office. He summoned her like a general calls a soldier to a war council. You're embarrassing this family, he thundered. Do you have any idea what kind of scandal you've stirred? He's not a scandal, Emily replied. He's a person. He's not one of us. And that's exactly why I want to be with him. Her mother cried in the hallway. Her father threatened to cut her off. Gregory sent a slew of texts, angry, degrading, vile. And then came the threats. About Elijah. About what they could do to him. He's got no protection, Gregory warned coldly. One anonymous call, one accusation, and he'll vanish. Emily broke down that night. In her room, alone. She tried calling Elijah, but he didn't answer. Not that night. Not the next day. He was gone. No text. No voicemail. No goodbye. She searched for him. She went back to the garage, but his uncle said he'd left. Didn't know where. Didn't leave a number. Her heart cracked like ice under weight. She told herself he needed space. That he would call. That he would come back. But days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. The world kept moving. She didn't. She told her father she didn't want the money. Walked out of the house with just her car and her dignity. She ended things with Gregory, burned the ring in a fireplace, and cut the ashes. With her heels. And then she started over. She launched a nonprofit in the city, dedicated to giving kids like Elijah chances. Access to art, to literature, to college resources. She hosted workshops, hired counselors, built bridges in neighborhoods where bridges had always been burned. Every ribbon she cut, she thought of him. Every child she helped, she saw his face. Every poem she read in the dark, she heard his voice. And yet, Elijah was gone. Like a dream too bold to stay. But fate, it seems, has its own clock. One rainy evening, nearly a year later, Emily was invited to a spoken word night at a small downtown venue. She almost didn't go, tired, soaked, worn out. But something tugged at her. She sat in the back, nursing a lukewarm tea, when a name was called over the mic, Elijah Carter. Her heart skipped. And then, his voice. Smooth, deep, full of the kind of silence that speaks louder than sound. I once loved a girl with hands like hope, he began. She wore her pain behind pearls and smiled with her eyes. She came from marble, I came from mud. But when she touched me, I remembered how stars are born in darkness. She couldn't move. When he stepped off the stage, their eyes met. The crowd disappeared. The world disappeared. She walked up slowly. He didn't say a word. Neither did she. He reached out first. I left to keep you safe, he whispered. I didn't want safety, she replied. I wanted you. He stared at her, as if afraid she would vanish again. But she didn't. She stepped closer. You really thought I'd forget you? She asked, tears brimming. No, he said. But I hoped you'd forgive me. She smiled. I forgave you every day. And then she kissed him. Right there, in front of the poets and the dreamers, the lost and the found. No hiding. No shame. They didn't need approval anymore. They had love. And that was enough.